What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to take a little bit of a look at some more lovely Marvel Champions cards. You see, another group of lovely content creators have gone and revealed another group of lovely new cards from the upcoming Rise of the Red Skull box, and I figured we should take a look. Now, we're going to do same rules as in the previous video. We are not going to be trying to cover these the second they're revealed, because they're revealed by lovely content creators who need a little bit of time to have the exclusive. Only seems fair. And similarly, I'm going to pop a whole bunch of links in the description so you can go and check out those lovely reveal articles, videos, etc. Please make sure you do so. Let's give some love to the people doing these reveals. So, we had a look at allies yesterday. So how about we move on and look at, well, for want of better phrases, non-ally cards. And we're going to start off having a little bit of a look at a new card which has been revealed by MakeYourPeaceGames.com, Inconspicuous, an event which is a Spider-Woman card. Now, it is worth noting that one of the awesome things about Spider-Woman is that she is not constrained to a single aspect like we generally see most of the heroes. Remember that Jessica Drew has the skill Double Agent, where you choose two aspects instead of one during deck building, and you must include an equal number of cards from those aspects in your deck. And then Spider-Woman's got a rather lovely skill, whereby when you play an aspect card, she gets +1 thwart, +1 attack, and +1 defense until the end of the round. Limit once per round for each aspect. Now, why is that important? Because Inconspicuous might be a Spider-Woman card, but it's also a Justice card. And that's very, very important, because if it's the first Justice card you played this round with Spider-Woman, you will get the boost up with thwart, attack, and defense. So it is important for Spider-Woman to have cards that are aspects as well as just regular cards. So with that preamble out the way, it's a one-cost event with a hero action thwart. Remove a total of 3 threat from among schemes in play. I adore this. I think this is absolutely wonderful. I mean, first of all, removing 3 threat for 1 is pretty gosh darn nice. That's very efficient use of your resources. But the reason I really love this card, and bearing in mind I'm a huge Spider-Verse fan, so I want Spider-Woman to be amazing. Spider-Man and Doctor Strange are my favourites right now. Good on Doctor Strange, by the way, because getting in there with Spider-Man is no easy feat. But I want to love Spider-Woman, and this is only making me love her more. Because you're removing it from a variety of schemes. So if there's a side scheme with 2 threat in play, you can remove the 2 threat to remove the side scheme, and then get 1 threat off the main scheme. Too many times I've been in a situation where I can either remove the side scheme, or I can remove a bunch of threat from the main scheme, and sometimes you've got to remove from the main scheme because otherwise you lose the game, but then you're taking an extra encounter card because that's what the side scheme's doing. Well, great news, ladies and gentlemen. This is not making you choose. I adore this card. I think it is absolutely phenomenally over-the-top brilliant. And for 1 cost, bearing in mind it's a Justice card to activate her skill, and you can remove from multiple schemes, count me in, ladies and gentlemen. Count me in. Now, speaking of Justice, but moving on from Spider-Woman specifically, Tabletop Time Sinks have gone and shown us Skilled Investigator. And this is a free card. You don't have to pay any resources to actually play it. So yeah, you lose a card from your hand, but that's all you lose. Now, you play it under any player's control, though it is limited to 1 per player, so you know it's got to be good. It's a hero response, so make sure you're in hero mode. After a side scheme is defeated, you exhaust Skilled Investigator and draw a card. Yes. Now, clearly this is going to depend on how many side schemes are in play. I mean, this is a card that you play for free, but then every time you get rid of a side scheme, you just start drawing cards. And we've talked about this recently. Marvel Champions doesn't have a huge amount of draw. It doesn't need a huge amount of draw because, like Keyforge, which is also made by FFG, Fantasy Flight Games, you draw until you've got a full hand at the end of your turn. So because you're constantly refreshing your hand, the game doesn't give you a huge amount of draw. So drawing 1 or 2 cards here or there can be absolutely fantastic. I mean, we all love, I love Bruce Banner's skill. Bruce Banner's skill is awesome. And that doesn't actually give you an extra card. It lets you draw a card and then discard a card from your hand, so you cycle cards rather than getting a card advantage. If that is good enough to be an alter ego skill, then having a support card that lets you draw a card every time you take out a side scheme has got to be a good thing. And this might be a nice time to remind you that the Red Skull is going to revolve around side schemes, we believe. Because firstly, we've got this Polish version of Red Skull that says he gets +1 attack per side scheme in play. And we got a quote from Caleb Grace, one of the designers of the game, saying, "It's a separate side scheme deck, so a side scheme is always revealed every round, so Red Skull is always up to something. It's obviously very challenging. We had to tone down some of the craziness. There's a lot of replay value with it." Now, I did get this quote from hallofheroeslcg.com, brilliant website, check those dudes out. But apparently there are 6 to 7 different cards in the side scheme deck, and each one is unique, and obviously the order is randomized. So in that way, it's going to be kind of like an invocation deck for Doctor Strange, in that it's a randomized side deck off to the side. My point is, against Red Skull, well, you're probably going to be taking out side schemes pretty often. This seems like a really nice Justice card to be having. You have been warned. Now, the wonderfully named teenage student Whinger Wordsmith, try saying that and not to the tune of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles theme tune, has gone and shown us another lovely Spider-Woman card, Jessica Drew's Apartment, which is kind of thematically awesome, because of course we've seen cards along these lines before. We saw Steve's Apartment in the Captain America deck, for instance. I wonder if it's going to be a similar kind of thing. Well, we've got a 1-cost support, so it's nice and cheap, and incidentally, does this mean that Spider-Woman's cards are all going to be cheap? Because remember, the more cards you can play, the more aspects you can play, and the more aspects you play, the more you bump up Spider-Woman's stats, so having a bunch of cheap cards is going to be pretty huge. And Jessica Drew's Apartment has an alter ego action, whereby you exhaust Jessica Drew's Apartment, search the top 5 cards of your deck for an aspect card, and add it to your hand. This is ridiculous. Like full-on proper job, over-the-top, broken ridiculous. I mean, if we go back to Steve's Apartment here, you exhaust it, draw a card, and heal 1 damage. And I know the healing is good, and I know the healing can often be what stops you losing the game, but drawing 1 card is fine. Again, we've had the drawing cards is good discussion in this video. But this is not just drawing a card. This is selecting the best card from the top 5 cards of the deck, which is dumb. And by dumb, I mean dumb good. It's crazy over the top good. In a game with little draw and little search, being able to select from the top 5 cards of your deck is crazy. And you get to search for any aspect card. Now, it has to be an aspect card. If it doesn't count as an aspect, boo, hiss, etc. So if we go back for a second to Inconspicuous, yes, that is a Spider-Woman card, numbered 11 out of 15, but it's also a Justice card, so it does count as an aspect card. You would be able to grab it. If it's not an aspect card, you don't get it, boo, hiss, etc. But then, of course, remember that Spider-Woman gets a buff for every different aspect that you play. So not only are you searching and getting a card from the top 5 cards of your deck, and I know you don't get to pick whatever card you want, there might be some non-aspect cards you don't get to choose from there, I've said it, but you also get to go, wait a second, this is an aspect that I haven't played this round, that I can afford to play with the other cards in my hand / on the board, and it's going to give me an extra boost. It's not just drawing a card. It's not just getting to select the card you want. It is also making sure you get a further +1 attack, +1 defense, +1 thwart. For a 1-cost support card, this is proper job, over the top, ridiculous. I'm in love with this card. But I do desperately want to love playing Spider-Woman in this game, so I am prone to potentially rating her card slightly higher than I should. You've all been warned. Were this another channel, I might give this 5 wassies. And then we have one more card we need to have a look at. It comes from No Responsibility, the podcast. They popped it over on Facebook. Do check out the podcast, though. I've heard exceptionally good things. And what we have is a 2-cost event, and it is a Spider-Woman card, but it is also a protection card. And you can probably see where Spider-Woman's going here, right? Because you could say play an aggression deck mixed with leadership, for instance. But then you've also got this, so there's a protection card. And then Inconspicuous is a justice card. And you haven't actually got the potential of 2 different aspects, which we might have thought when we first looked at the card at Spider-Woman. We've actually got the potential of 4 aspects, although I'm willing to bet that between Spider-Woman's 15 cards, all the aspects will be represented. So you've got the massive boost to Spider-Woman's skill, which is awesome, but then you've got a hero action, heal 3 damage from Spider-Woman, and give her a tough status card. Okay. I'm not as in love with this as the other Spider-Woman cards, but then again, you heard quite how in love with them I was. I mean, the fact of the matter is, Spider-Woman as a whole is coming in, I mean, I've already shown you a couple of times the card, but she's coming in rocking 11 hit points. It's higher than a bunch of the heroes we've seen, but it's not phenomenal, spectacular, over the top, or any of those superlatives. It's fine. It's not amazing. Healing 3 damage and giving a tough. Remember that tough will stop the next damage you receive. So if there's no minions on the field, then you give yourself a tough counter, the villain will just take off the tough counter and you're protected for a turn. Now if there's a bunch of minions, they'll still go after you anyway, but it's a classic kind of protection card. You heal 3 damage and you give a tough status card? That sounds pretty gosh darn good to me. Certainly if you want to go protecting yourself, this is going to do the trick nicely. 2 costs to heal 3 damage and gain a tough status card. That does seem like a pretty good trade-off if you ask me. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Those are all of the lovely reveals we've seen, or at least the ones we can talk about today. And shout out to all of those lovely folks at Make Your Peace Games over at Tabletop Time Sinks, at Teenage Student Whinger Wordsmith, and No Responsibility Podcast for bringing the reveals. And like I've said, links to all of them are in the description, so do make sure you go and check them out. They are people pushing this game, showing it love, bringing it to new audiences. The least we can do is show them a bit of love for them doing so. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to know what you think about all of these cards, and I want to know if you are quite as excited about Spider-Woman as I am, because I really am. Let me know in the comment section, would you? Go nuts, be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWassy. That's where we talk Marvel Champions and a bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun stuff. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wassy Plays.